guys? Welcome back to another show. Before I get started with this episode, my very simple shout out today is going to be to the Bronx, the birthplace of hip hop. Yes, that's right. And I'm going to give you three places to visit. Even if we're going through COVID-19, you're probably not going to be able to visit these places. But when you come to the Bronx, please, please, please catch a game at Yankee Stadium. Of course, that's obvious. Go to the Bronx Zoo, the best zoo arguably in the United States. So don't talk to me about that. It's the best zoo. And the Botanical Gardens. So we got some great places to visit in the Bronx. Love the Bronx. We're living here for a little bit. And that's it. Let's get started with the show. I'm Luis Agustin, and this is A View to Film. All right. Welcome back. A View to Film. Today, my special guest, he is a baseball enthusiast and he has his own sports podcast called Play the Tape. Finally, we got Play the Tape on. We keep shouting him out, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Oscar Velazquez.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I am not a myth. I am a real person. Yeah, lots of shout outs here and there, but we are a real podcast as well. So thank you for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here.
Of course, my brother, of course. And your podcast is based out of Florida. How's the weather there right now?
Yeah, it's nice. There's another hurricane coming up, as it is every 2 weeks down here. But it's beautiful. Florida is beautiful.
I was gonna ask, what's like the hurricane prep like? What do people from Florida do? Like now that you're a full-fledged Floridian, like talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, sort of like any time between June and like October, you just have to be ready for a hurricane at any moment. So just be prepared. Pantry full of canned foods and anything that can last more than like a month or so. Like, not toilet paper. That eso pasó de moda ya.
Wowzers. Oh my God. Well, that's good, man. Stay safe. Hopefully we'll be seeing you soon in these parts of New York. But yeah, man, stay safe out there, all right?
Definitely. Thanks.
All right. So, what movie are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about the 1995 film of Rumble in the Bronx by none other than Jackie Chan as the lead actor.
Look at that. I actually just rewatched the film today. I was, just catching up, taking some notes. But right off the bat, like, why did you pick this film? Is this one of your favorite childhood films?
Yeah, so this is definitely a childhood film. It's near and dear to my heart, as I used to live in Dominican Republic. So like media access was very limited back then. But for some strange reason, there was a recording of this movie in a VHS tape that one of my sister's ex-boyfriends left over in my house one day.
That's so funny. It's so funny you mentioned that, because there have been a lot of movies that it's been the same thing. I think my dad had like recorded VHS tapes like laying around, like how like they'll like record over another recording and like yeah man, that is so true, man. That's so true.
And like again in DR, there was limited media access, so there was not many choices of films to watch. So I just watched this film over and over and over. So that's why it holds a special spot in my childhood heart.
All right, man, that's what's up. I like that. Well, random question for you before we even start talking about the movie. So then, if this one is one of your favorite ones, have you seen him in like Drunken Master or Rush Hour? Have you seen him in all those other movies as well? Or?
Yeah, so I've seen all the Rush Hours.
Okay.
And yeah, in Drunken Master, there's a few other films that I've seen, but none as much as Rumble in the Bronx.
That's what's up, man. So it's just like near and dear to you. I like it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it. So I'm glad you mentioned that you grew up in DR, because that's one of the main things I was going to ask you about. And it kind of hit home for me as soon as for those who haven't seen the film, as soon as you started, you immediately see him coming from the airport, Like he gets picked up by his uncle, and like, can you talk to me about like that feeling that you had when you came in like your first time, like when you really remember, like when you were like at a young age?
And you hit the nail right there. So that's one of the main reasons. And the very first scene that you see is like an airplane in a sunset landing in JFK Airport. So that's like it's such a feeling that you can relate as a Dominican person that traveled to the U.S. and New York, and you relate to it. And then as soon as you land, you drive through the nice areas, like as I think the uncle drove him by Manhattan, and he thought that his uncle's business was in Manhattan, and he was like, holy crap, you have a nice business in Manhattan. And he's like, no, my business in the Bronx. So it's like it goes back to like the picture that a lot of people overseas have of New York, which is all the lights and glamorous cityscape, while we grew up in Washington Heights, which is not that. So
Correct.
it brings home a lot of those feelings that we as immigrants can relate to.
That is true. That is true. I definitely agree with you. I think that that's one of the things that I like resonated with. When I was watching it, it was so cool to see that. But yeah, so his uncle pretty much he brings him in, he takes him in, he's going ahead and like giving him a place to stay while he's there for his uncle's wedding. So he invites him to take over like the store and whatnot, right? So very random first thing that did you notice the Game Gear he gave the little kid when he showed up?
Yeah, yeah. Did you notice something that was missing?
Oh, the cart. Yeah, the cart.
Yeah, yeah. So I noticed this as a kid, and you and I were both video gameaholics when we were kids, and a Game Gear is a pretty big thing. Is one of the first handheld devices that had color, not just color, but it was like illuminated color. So I recognize that right away, and it has no game. And if you I don't know if you noticed this, Lewis, but the kid actually looked at the back of the little handheld device to see, oh shit, there's no game. Like, he noticed that. So I don't know if you caught that.
Yo, I caught it like right at the end, and then he started playing with it. So I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's hilarious. But it's the little things that us some gamers would pay attention to details. So I'm sure the average audience didn't catch that.
exactly, I agree. And I wanted to bring up that scene mostly because like it also reminded me of my childhood when how long like it took me a while to save up for the Game Gear. Like I remember this was a big thing and it came out. And I was like, oh man, something handheld like this trying to compete with like the Game Boy and whatnot. So it was pretty cool that they go ahead and did that.
You had a Game Gear as a child?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow, you're very fortunate. I could not afford one. I always wanted one, and I had friends that actually had it, and I used to borrow it. And oh my god, it was so revolutionary. So the Game Gear was so ahead of its time. It was like we were used to the original Game Boy. This was just green and a different shade of green, but this
Correct,
was like
correct.
fully fledged color. Holy yikes! That's a whole different podcast. We should start a gaming podcast too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll bring you back for that one. All right, so we move on a little bit into the movie, and then the uncle brings him into the store. You get that quick mirror scene where you see Kyung, that's his name, Jackie Chan in the movie. He's like flexing, then the store owner's like looking at him, which is pretty funny. Like I thought that was one of like the funnier parts. So then here's my first question for you. Like the uncle, and when you meet his the girl that he's getting married, like is this the best biracial couple you've ever seen on screen? Like
By
what's your
far, by far, this is like Tiger Woods' parents. It's like it's by far super odd, and I'm sure it caught Kyung by surprise, but it caught a lot of people by surprise. It was pretty cool. I think at the end there's an outtake where they just cracked up afterwards.
Oh yeah, and so I wanted to point out too that I loved how his uncle and her were like matching. Like I was like, oh man, that's couples goals right there. Like look how they're matching and just wearing everything the same.
Oh, that's hilarious! Yeah, when they were going on their honeymoon and left them, yeah, it was like this Barney colors. It was like pink and purple. Like it was funny. It's cute. It's cute.
All right, so we get into first part of the movie where you see one of the first tropes where they do have a guy come in, and the uncle asks him like, hey, I want a nice car. So the guy comes in and he's like, yo, don't put a scratch on it. So right away you get the foreshadowing where you're like, all right, of course somebody's gonna go try to get this scratch on this car. What did you think? Like, so how about we start here, because we see that they park the car outside in the middle of the Bronx, mind you. I don't know how they even thought this would be okay. Such a nice car like this that could be parked outside. They see and he sees the motorcycle gang coming. Like, so I guess like it's a two-part question. It's mostly like, do you remember like when you were growing up, like how loud were the streets? Like, would you ever get any sleep because how loud it was? And then number two, like, would you ever park your car like where they parked it? Like, talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it depends part of the Bronx, and there are the loud part of the Bronx. You can definitely not get sleep. However, I don't know if you caught this, but like Kyung got up as he heard the noise. That this is probably not usual for him. However, the uncle was knocked out like completely.
Yes.
So
Yes.
he's a Bronx resident, so he's used to this. So he's immune to this. So like that's why I was watching it with Flo, and she asked, "Why did the uncle not wake up?" And he's like, and I'm like, "Cause he's from New York, and that's normal." But Kyung is not used to this, so. Yes, there are lots of noise. If you're a local from the Bronx, this is normal for you. But if you're from a foreign land like China, like this is completely different. So I guess that's why he woke up, and nowhere near in my wildest dreams would I park my car there, knowing that stuff like this happens between gangs late at night. So there's no way you should have parked it. But hey, for the sake of the film, you had to do it, right?
Exactly. And then the the one thing I was going to piggyback off what you're saying is that it's true. I grew up in uptown Manhattan like yourself, and you would constantly just hear noise. I'm telling you right now, bro, I'm like a log. Like, there could be 20 million like fireworks, like right now July 4th fireworks, and I'm good. Like, but then my wife, she wakes up with little noises, and I'm like, yo, like I'm just used to all noises being outside. It doesn't bother me.
Exactly, it's what you're accustomed to. Hey, maybe now, like I'm not used to New York anymore because here in Florida, probably heard off air, we just had grillos and crickets going on, and that's all you hear here. It's a campo compared to New York, where you hear dembow banging and cars and sirens and stuff. So it's a big difference, especially in the summer.
Exactly. So, um, we oh, random question. Because you have your co-host in a play the tape, like he has his own motorcycle. Like, are there motorcycle clubs like this in the Bronx? Like, I don't know about. Like, what is this weekend?
I don't know. I lived in the Bronx for about a decade, and not many motorcycle gangs. I mean, you're gonna have motorcycle people all around, but I don't think it was that common. Again, maybe it was different in the 90s. Let's not forget this did take place in the mid 90s.
That's
So
true.
things might have been different. And I know the Bronx, I know New York City as a whole was a lot different in the 90s than it was in like the 2000s. So, little things like that you got to take into consideration. And, the fact that it is rumble in the Bronx, like the Bronx in the 90s was considered, you had graffiti in the plane, in the trains, you had gang violence, you had drugs, especially in the South Bronx. So it's like there's things like that you have to take into consideration as to when we lived there, which was I lived there from 2015 on. So it's a lot different, but I get it. I get it.
So, your boy Kyung pretty much sees this whole thing. He saves the car, right? And later on, so they come to the grocery store, right? And then all of a sudden, like he just turns into like full-fledged Jackie Chan, which is amazing. Like, and now I want to give a quick shout out to Jackie Chan. Like, when he was like in his prime, man, he was one of the goats. Like, every time any movie you see of his, like you're in for like a great stunt coordination, and you're gonna see like a lot of martial arts moves, which I really did appreciate. So he pretty much like saves the store, and but then the thing that got me was that all of a sudden in the movie, he saves the store, and he all of a sudden dubbed himself as like a superhero. Like, bro, like you see somebody in an alley, now you're gonna jump in, and then he got caught. What did you think about that?
I mean, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I mean, it is like it's what you're supposed to do when you're in that point. Like you already have that image around you, and he fell for the bait. So the girl who is her neighbor's sister, was the bait. Like she acted like she was being kidnapped and then lured him into the alley. And she knew that. She knew that Kyung was going to go ahead and try to save her because of what happened earlier. Like, I'm sure she got the news like, yo, this guy's pretty badass. Like,
Right, right.
he just, wiped out an entire gang from a supermarket. There's a really good chance that he's going to go ahead and follow me into this alley. So you know what? Let's make believe that I'm being kidnapped, and I'm sure he's gonna come and chase. So, and surely enough, it proved to be true.
Ha- I was gonna ask you. So they get into the alleyway, right? And then we get one of our first pivotal scenes where they're throwing the bottles at him and things are going crazy. So decision time, right? For you, are you just telling them, "Yo, just shoot me, man. Give me the gun," or you're just gonna take that bottle attack?
Never, 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 ever, ever give yourself. Because if you say shoot me, there's a 0% chance of survival. If you let whatever happen, things like this can happen where he survived, of course. But never say shoot me. Like, there's one thing about me, Lewis. Like, if you ever hear, oh, yo, like if I pass away one day, God forbid, and you hear, oh, Oscar's committed suicide, just know that is not true.
Okay, we
Oscar,
got it.
just
We're
know, yo,
recording it. We're recording it. We're recording
exactly.
it.
This
Yeah.
is this is a primary source. If you ever hear that there's a rumor that Oscar committed suicide, quote unquote, just know that that is not true. So yeah, pulling, like, asking to be pulled the trigger upon, like, it's a 0% chance of survival. So just live through it, and I'm sure, like, I'm not a kung fu expert, but I'm sure there's a lot of discipline that they teach you, and I'm sure one of them is like survival, and try to do what you can to survive in pretty much any situation. So I'm sure he was trained for that as like a kung fu master, which, by the way, he was a kung fu master, and I think the uncle
Correct.
mentioned it early on that his father was a kung fu master as well, because he said, oh, he used to win tournaments just like you're doing
Correct.
now. So it's like, that Kyung is pretty up there. He's not your average, kung fu guy. He is well beyond like anything average. So yeah, don't pull the trigger. Try to do what you can. Survive those baseball hit bottles.
I agree. I agree with you. The only reason I bring that up is that a lot of like the old school martial arts movies, like for example, like The Last Dragon, like the dude got shot at, but he caught it with his teeth. So I was just trying to show you that, or like kind of like embellish, like, hey, some of the martial artists, man, like they'll just catch a bullet and then pretend that they're dead. Like, you ever seen that in those movies, like those old school ones?
Yeah, yeah, especially those old school. I think that was more like a 70. You're the movie expert, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But that was more like a 70s to 80s type of thing where you stretch fantasy a little more. Uh, but at this era, and especially Jackie Chan, he's a realist. He's gonna do things as realistically as possible, as he's known to do his own stunts and everything.
Very true. And it was early 80s actually. But you got it right there. Like late 70s, early 80s, like they were doing
There
tropes
we
like
go.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So so the guy in the ball pit truck snitched him out in like 2 seconds. What did you think about that
Oh,
part?
that was hilarious. That was hilarious. It was like, like, what are you doing here? And you hear Keong saying, "Shh, please don't say anything." And he's like, "Who the hell are you?" He got out, giving it away. And of course, one of the gang members was right there and snitched and said, "Hey, he's right here." Boom, put in reverse. It was one of those trucks where you don't have to put the gas pedal. It's just like the handle on the side of the steering wheel. Boom, reverse, and then he goes ahead and jumps off that ball truck. Yo, Jackie Chan, man, like there's
Yeah,
not many like
yeah,
him.
definitely, bro. I was gonna ask you, so then that's my question. Like, so they torture him at night. he gets away, and then they follow in the movie. Then they follow up with him again the next day. Like, why not just put him out of
Yo,
his misery? Like, why continue to torture this poor dude? Like, what? Like, geez, like, let's get over
I
this.
mean, they're trying to get him, Lewis. They're trying to get him, but they can't. They want to take him out of his misery and kill him, but they can't because he's Jackie Chan and he's hard to catch. Is this and but yeah, that whole and his wounds being healed that quickly, like really. But again, you got to make things work for the movie's sake, I guess.
Yeah, he got them old school. What is it what's the word I'm looking for? In English, like the Ivaporu. He got the Ivaporu. He got
Oh
the
yeah, yeah. Se puso mentol, and that healed everything.
yeah. He put on the Vicks, and,
Yeah.
and everything got healed. And he's running around like a maniac.
Yeah, all over a parking lot, jumping off roofs. Oh my god, did you see that scene, man?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's take a pause real quick. So what would be your favorite scene in the film? Because I won't run down for me, but for you, what do you think yours is?
For me, and I'm going a little bit more forward, is when he goes in the little gang's like base,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
because
yeah,
I feel like that has more like a symbolic a symbolic tune to it, where he just goes and makes things happen and then tries to make peace, like, and at the end he ended it with, hey, hope next time instead of fighting we're drinking tea together. Like that really hit me,
yeah,
like that
yeah,
goes deep, but that's further ahead in the movie. But yeah, like that jump though, like, and he did it himself, Lewis. Like, he
yeah,
really
yeah,
did
yeah.
that
Yeah.
himself. That's
He did.
insane.
He did.
That's insane.
Yeah. So real quick, some quick trivia for you since you brought it up. The warehouse scene when he went in there and like he started like fighting with them. That took about 20 days to film because Jackie taught all of them like how to like really like do the kung fu and go into martial arts. Not sure if you knew that.
That is crazy. I believe it too. I believe it because there's a lot. It's not. I can imagine it's not easy to film. Not just like kung fu, but like the Jackie Chan type of kung fu, where like you're going after the same bottle. You're having bats
Yes, yes,
thrown
yes.
at you. You're having little pinball machines pushed against you. You're jumping on top of a refrigerator. You're going inside a refrigerator, getting the door slammed on top of you. You're using a ski to like slap somebody. It's like it's not your typical kung fu. It's not your typical fighting. So heck, I believe that it took 3 weeks in order to train everybody to even to fall a victim to Jackie Chan. You need to be trained.
Yeah, it's the coordination.
Yeah.
Exactly. Get everything right. The choreography. That's the word I was looking
There we
for.
go. Yep, choreography.
All right, so let's move on a little bit. So he basically falls for Nancy super quick. My question to you is, after she dined you out, had the gang go after you, what would you have done? Like, would you have like started dating her like that? Like that was kind of
Yo,
quick.
have you seen Nancy, man? Like she
I
like
get, I
her little
get it. I
brother
get
said
it.
it. Her little
Yeah.
brother said, "Yo, she's pretty, man. She's pretty." Yeah, she. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Jackie Chan. Kyung was single. He's single and sees a hot, native person from your, country as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, Kyung is a trained kung fu expert. I'm sure he's confident he can deal with whatever comes his way.
That's
and
true.
and more so, like, for Danny too, for his little neighbor, he seemed really happy. Like, he likes Kyung, and obviously he loves his sister. So I don't know, little things like that, you at least make it work. But even with all of that, Lewis, I would be very hesitant to get in any type of relationship with a gang leader's girlfriend, because
Exactly.
remember, she's the girlfriend of a gang leader, Tony.
All right. So random question for you then. So then I think Elaine, the store owner, had a crush on him too. So like who would you like so then you would just play it safe and just go after Elaine?
Elena definitely had something for Jackie. So I don't know if you noticed when he was helping her with the gate. and pulling it down. Like it was kind of awkward, and like even when he finished everything, like beating up the people in the supermarket, she's just staring at him, and he had to like snap his fingers like hello. So like she definitely had something for him, but he probably wasn't feeling her. I I mean, when you compare Elaine and Nancy, you know, there are different echelons of attractiveness, you know.
So they go back and they destroy the store again, right? So then how did Elaine find out so fast that he was dating Nancy? Like she called him out on it like super quick. Like, and I'm like, wait, what? How did you know? Like, is everybody talking in the
Yeah.
Bronx? Like, what's going on here?
I guess it's a small community. Let's see. There could be ways where I don't know. Did Tony go in the store? Maybe. So Elaine does know about Nancy because Nancy was in the store the very first fight scene
Okay.
where you know, she asked for the candy and then Angelo said it's on me. So she knows about her, but how does she know about Kyung and her? Yeah, news travels fast in the Bronx. I can't think of a way.
Yeah, that was like my one thing that I was like, wait, what? That was kind of random, but anyway, so we got so we're moving along in the movie, and then like now we get introduced like to these guys that are trying to like steal these diamonds and whatnot, right? So that's like in the point of the movie I was like, wait, we have another like villain, like it's not gonna be the street gang chase the entire time. So so basically these guys steal these diamonds. They are trying to get it back from this other rival corporation. They shoot them up. They go through all of that, right? So here's another hypothetical for you, Oscar. All of a sudden, right? The dude, what's this guy's name? The other guy in the gang, the rude one.
Angelo?
Yeah, Angelo. Yeah, there you go. Sorry. So Angelo gets the diamonds, right? Randomly. He's running, right? Here's the hypothetical for you. What would you do if you're in that situation? You know the Bronx a little bit, right? You know everything. You know the layout. Like if you randomly find diamonds like this and you know people are chasing after it, what would you do instead of him? Like of what he did?
Yeah, so at that situation, like first of all, those diamonds are worth millions and millions of dollars. First of all, so once you have it in your possession, like, and you have guys with guns chasing you, which by the way, I love those guys. I think they're pretty cool. Um, but I would hide it, something similar than what he did, right? Because you're either gonna get caught by these guys because you can't outrun them forever
That's
unless
right.
if you're unless Lewis, if you're in a neighborhood where you absolutely know every single, you know,
Yeah,
out
yeah,
way
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you know there's a out, or if you have a neighbor that if you know somebody in one of those apartments, you'd be like, "Yo, let me in," and then that's it. They'll pass over. Like that's
Yes,
fine.
yes.
If you know of, you know, a roof connection to another building, then that's an output too. So there's different ways. However, once you run out of choices and you know you see something like that, I would hide it the same way he did. So I don't know if it's hiding it in a trash chute, hiding it in Danny's cushion, as he did. So
But
that's the
well,
way to do it.
I was gonna say so. 2 points on that. Number one, I think that dude Angelo is like the lowest of the lows, bro. Like, how do you like hide it in a boy's seat cushion, and then you got the balls to really come back and not remember that the one you hit it in was a single piece, not the two piece cushion that he got. That was number
Look,
one. I was like, come
yeah.
on, bro. Like, you
All
did
right.
it,
So
man.
for that one, Lewis, I'll defend this crazy man.
Okay.
When you're at a moment of anxiety, you don't think of those things. You just think, hey, I saw Danny's cushion and I put it inside Danny's cushion. But when you're at a moment of such anxiety, you're not probably not going to remember that it was a one piece versus a full piece. What I do have a question on, and I don't know if this was going to be your second question,
Go ahead.
is how did you know that that was Danny's cushion? It's just a cushion on the floor in the middle of a building. I mean, it could happen. He might know Danny's address, I guess, because that's his leader's girlfriend's house. Maybe, but that could be any cushion. So how did he know that was Danny's cushion?
That is a great question. I have no idea because he was already tracking them quick, right? When they all went out on their date to get ice cream. And I'm like, wait a second, it's true. I didn't think about that. How did he know that it was them? How did he even know that it was the kid's cushion that I don't know, man. I honestly, you got me on that one, to be honest with you. Because I didn't even think about that one at all. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was, and not just, touching base on that, was not sure you remember this, and of course you do, but and for those who grew up in Uptown Manhattan like we did, before we got into the Bronx, I would have chosen like to run through like the basement. Remember how our basements in our buildings connected to other buildings on the other
Oh
end?
my
And
God,
then you have
yeah.
like those little hidden like alleyways. That's what we could have used to our advantage because we knew the layout, you know?
Exactly. And that goes back to what I was saying. Like, if you're familiar with like wherever, alleyway you were in, then, you have an advantage against those, those white tiger guys that, they're probably not familiar with that area. So you can find something, find the door, a closet door, something that but they don't. So, like, yeah, we know that the basements in Post Avenue, they're all connected, and you can even go to Sherman
Shout outs.
from yeah, shout out. So you can go to Sherman on the other side, and like there's different ways to get out. So like you're on your home field, so use that to your advantage. But I don't think Angelo had many choices.
You're right. Maybe it was the anxiety. But
Yeah, it's tough.
let's get to one of the pivotal scenes, right? So your boy Jackie Chan goes down there, like we were talking about, right? We alluded to it that he goes down to their base and he talks to Tony, the leader, right? And Tony's gonna shoot him again, and I'm like, oh my god, Tony, just either shoot him or don't, bro. But they come to an understanding, and they're like, all right, we're gonna fight one on one. Here's the number one thing that I usually have a problem with from Jackie Chan.
I love that scene, by the way.
No, yeah, it's a great scene.
I told you that's my favorite scene.
Yes, yeah. No, we're gonna talk about it right now. But before you jump in and elaborate on it, what usually bothers me about Jackie Chan movies is that my man's is always getting beat up. You're a martial arts master. You're gonna tell me a random dude like Tony went hand to hand with you? Talk
I
about it.
know. And he took some hits too. He
Yeah,
took some hits, and I'm like, when you first see it, you're like, oh, there's this amateur. He's just a gang leader, but I mean, it's you don't know, Lewis. So you don't know. Maybe Tony did take some martial arts and just happened to be captain of the gang. So like, I mean, if you notice, none of them really could fight kung fu. This was like the only fight, and this is why I like really like the only hands to hand fight. Like mano y mano
yeah.
type of
Mano y
fight.
mano, yes. Mano y mano,
and
yes.
and I love that. Like this is sort of like and it was like this is like almost towards the end of the movie, so it's kind of like you're facing the final boss, and this is like the last level, and you pass this, everything's gonna be good. So it's like I love that. I love that. Finally have that. You're going hand in hand with the final boss. You challenge him to not use the gun. You got the guts. Of course, he's gonna drop the gun if you challenge him in front of all of
All
his
his boys.
gang members.
Yeah.
He's not gonna seem like a punk and not use it. So yeah, but yeah, he always does get beat up.
No,
He does.
I'll definitely give it to you, man. It was a great scene. I really did enjoy it, and it's true. The buildup was there. He was fighting Tony, who looked like a dude from Streets of Rage. So shout out to Streets of Rage.
Yo, Streets of Rage. Yo, speaking of Sega, we were talking about the Game Gear. Sega, man. Oh my God. Back in the days, man.
But
That
that's
was a
what I'm
great game.
saying. Would you not agree that the movie had
He
a
does.
Sega Genesis kind of feel to it? Like,
Again, Lewis, it goes back to what I'm saying. Is like mid '90s. Like this was the era, man. Like this is it was like perfectly placed. And Streets of Rage does have a few similarities. Like as you go through the levels, is very similar to what you see in this movie in the streets.
exactly. Yeah, no, that's actually what caught my eye because I'm like, whoa, like these guys are like, are they from Streets of Rage? So that was pretty cool.
Love it.
Here's a random question I just thought about because we were just talking about the diamonds. Let's say your co-host Benny, right? He's the one who's on the run, right? He gets a set of diamonds and he runs into your house. Let's say it's your old apartment in Post Ave, right? Shout out Post. And he runs in there. He's like, bro, either hide me, hide the diamonds. What are you doing? What's your mindset?
I'm taking it for Benny. Yeah, I'll do it for Benny. I'll do it for Benny. I'll do it for you. Like, and I'm gonna get something out of that. So, yeah, I mean, bro, like if I see you panicking and you crash into my apartment, I'm gonna shelter your ass. Like, I got your back, man. Like, give me the diamonds. We'll hide it somewhere, and or just stay here, and let those guys go through and leave, and then you can leave, or give me the diamonds and leave. Whatever you want to do, I got your back, man. So I would do it. What would you do? What would you do if like I walked in or Oliver walked in? Like, would you take a fugitive?
Listen, at the end of the day, man, if we can find a way to hide out the diamonds, and hold on one second, because my producer's looking at me like giving me the stare, like, wait, what are you gonna do? I want to hear this answer. So, no, yeah, honestly, man, I think I would have to do it, especially like if it's a relative, like if it's your blood, if it's your brother, like if your brother walks in or my brother walks in, like we gotta like try to just find the best hiding place and figure something out later. And I'll give credit. I'll give credit to Kyung, the fact that he met up with Elaine. So he asked somebody for help, and then they try to call the cops. But little did they know these guys had the cops like their line tapped. So like, what's the answer? You're trying to do the right thing and call the cops, which is what I think we should do. Like if it ever happens to any of us. But then what if there's that connected that they send the hit squad to us? So now what do we do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a risk. Oh, yeah, that's a risk because like anything can happen at that point. Like, you would have to be off the grid first of all. Like, there's no way you can communicate with anybody. You would have to stay off the grid. I wouldn't. I wouldn't go to the cops initially. I would talk to Angelo and be like, "Yo, like, what's the origin of this? Like, are people really looking for this?" But I know Kyung was at a point where you just had to call the cops at that point, as I honestly don't think he had any other alternative, really.
I agree. I mean, it's true. It just I don't know how you get out of that situation.
Like, you do what you can to be off the grid, right? But like that's it. Once you're at that point, that's it. You need some backup. There's only so much you can do.
So another hypothetical. So he meets up with Elaine. They're trying to figure out what to do with the diamonds, and she's like trying to steal them, take some of her pay on the low, right? Because they destroyed her store. So then here's another one for you. So you're taking a shit, and your house gets blown away. What do you do then? Like,
Oh my god! I would definitely push Kyung out the freaking building. Like, I think she was gonna kill herself too.
I know,
Like,
I know.
I mean, think about it. You lose your home, you lose your business. Not only that, but like after you fix the business, you get it messed up. Like, she would definitely need to get a big cut of that damn diamond,
I agree.
payout afterwards.
La
Because
pobre. Yeah.
I know like you don't get the guy you want, then your business gets messed up due to the guy that you want and you can't have because he's dating another woman who's the gang leader's girlfriend, and then you get your supermarket messed up again,
And
and you live on top of the supermarket, and like everything gets blown up, like, and you just bought this, and the guy you bought it from is out on a honeymoon, like,
bro.
man, oh man, I feel bad for her.
Entanglement is the word that I was looking for.
That's
I was like, oh.
they had an entanglement. That's all it was.
So at this point, Kyung is at a crossroads, right? He could have just taken the diamonds and ran, or and not bothered saving it like the girl, because pretty much it was his Nancy. Because think about it this way: like Danny, he made sure the kid was safe. He's already with Elaine. Like the only real person he was worried about was Nancy. Like, would you have pulled the sacrifice? What would you have done at
I'm
that
t-
point?
I'm telling you, he's really digging Nancy. Like, you can't, like, love has a powerful thing, man. Like, it makes you do crazy things sometimes. So, yeah, he probably doesn't give a damn about Tony, or Angelo. But for Nancy, not just for Nancy, maybe not even for that, but like for Danny. So like, you want to do, this is Danny's big sister. So
That's
for
true.
his
That's
sake,
true.
so I'm sure he cares a lot about Danny too. So I would have done the same thing. Like at that point, you have diamonds, you can have it for ransom,
Right,
and
right.
you need it. You have something that they want, and they have something you want. So let's just take this opportunity, make the exchange. Like let's make this happen for Danny's sake and Nancy, of course, which is a good bonus.
So before we get to the ending of the movie, right? So I wanted to talk to you about like my favorite scene of the whole movie was when they're trying to find the diamonds, right? And they're trying to like interrogate them, and they're looking for everything when they show up to the house. It's when he finally gets the one up on the guys, on the fake FBI guys, and
Oh my
then
god,
and
yeah.
then and then Danny tosses him the football helmet, and then he tosses him the wrench. Yo, I could not
That
stop
was
laughing.
hilarious. I love that. I love that, like the little details, like when he was on the ground and he said, "Oh, I think the diamonds are in this cushion," and he's crawling to it, and then he just happens to stumble upon with the pole, one of the Danny's pole, and just grab it, and he's like, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna use to get this guy." But that was hilarious. That was very comedic, and that's one thing about Jackie Chan movies. It's a thrilling action and comedy at the same time. So it's like, and it's safe comedy. It's something that my mom can watch.
Right,
It's
right.
it's something that anybody can just you could be flipping channels and happen to go through TBS and happen to fall upon this scene. Yeah, you don't have context, but you're still gonna laugh even if you don't have context. So yeah, that's one of the things about Jackie Chan movies that's is just so powerful. But yeah, that scene was hilarious. Like the football helmet, like punch bear punches didn't do a thing.
Right, right.
The helmet barely did a thing. Like yeah, you give him a bruise, but then the wrench, oof, that was hilarious. That's a good call on that scene.
You
He's like, "Thank you, Danny. You're welcome."
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. Yo,
I loved it.
could not stop laughing, brother. I could not stop. This is great, great. Um, so here's some random trivia before also we finalize, right? So if you had to guess, because I Googled this and I was very curious as I was watching the movie, because me and you both, like I said, and we've established that we've grown up in New York City, so we know Uptown Manhattan and we know the Bronx pretty well. I don't know if you paid attention to this, but I had an inkling that they weren't filming in the Bronx. What did you think?
Yeah, so I found this out 2 years later after I was a child. When I was a child, I was watching this, and I'm like, this doesn't really seem familiar. There's
Right, right.
yeah, like the type of people that are there don't seem Bronx type of people. Those gang members again that look like Streets of Rage. Like
Right,
that's
right,
not
right.
really what you see in the Bronx. With the bandanas and the half cut gloves. Like you don't really see that in the Bronx.
Well, real quick before you continue your recap, I was gonna say though we do see it, but like in the 70s, because this is in the 90s. But like if you've ever watched the movie like The Warriors, not sure if you've ever seen it, but
Right. Yeah.
they filmed that one in the Bronx, and like that legit looks like the Bronx, Manhattan, and everywhere they filmed in New York. But this movie didn't have a Bronx feel to me. So continue. You were saying?
Nah, it didn't. It didn't have that feeling at all. The whole supermarket, and there's not a big Asian community in the Bronx that I know of. So that's another thing. I know there's a big Italian community, and there's lots of other, but it's
Yeah,
not really big
Irish,
Asian. And, to have
Irish.
an Asian supermarket and a big Asian, and like it was just a little odd. But again, when I was a kid, I just I was just so thrilled with the action itself that I mean, this was in the back of my mind. As I got older, like maybe a few years later, I started Googling it, and yeah, I did find out that it was filmed in Vancouver. But it
Crazy.
was they did a good job though. Like again, it goes back to like you wanna amass the audience. So like and I think they were gonna call it like Rumble in Vancouver or something like
That's
that.
correct. Yeah, that's another thing I
But
found in the
but
research.
they it wouldn't appeal to the American audience as much as Rumble in the Bronx when you barely had a few things from the Bronx there. So it was pretty cool. It was a good nugget.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. So we get to finally like the ending of the movie, right, where we see this amazing hovercraft. I'll tell you right, this I did not remember this from watching this as growing up. Like that hovercraft that they featured was pretty cool, and I also did research on it too, and that was part of the trivia was from the Coast Guard in Canada, because they were obviously filming in Vancouver, that they contributed that hovercraft to the film, and I was like astonished, man. What did you think about that? Like the way it moved or everything like that?
That hovercraft is so ahead of its time for it to be like in the 90s, and you had
Yep.
something like that so massive, so versatile, where it can go through land and water so easily,
Yeah.
like, and you could run people over and you wouldn't really kill them, like, it's pretty darn cool. And I remember watching this as a kid, and I remembered all of every single part, obviously, of this movie, but like the hovercraft itself, like the vehicle, is not something you see very often. So it has like that exotic feeling to it, where you're like just wowed by it. Like I was wowed by it, and just the way it's able to be maneuvered, whether it's by water and by land, and it goes through long distances in land too.
Exactly.
Land,
And
yeah, like streets and sand, and that's a pretty good vehicle.
it seemed like to me like something that I would see in like a James Bond movie. That I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
what is that? Like I'm telling you, like I've seen a lot of films, and I was just like, wow, what is what is this contraption? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I have seen hovercrafts before, and like not to this massive size.
Right, right,
Like
right.
hovercrafts are usually a little smaller, but like this was like a massive vehicle. Like it like took over. It like crashed on New York City buses and stuff. Like it was massive, man.
Yeah, the fake New York City bus.
It did have the MTA logo, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I credit them to that.
I credit them too. They did a nice job of dressing up the cops, dressing up like the MTA
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, they did that.
the cars, like the license plates, like they did their due diligence.
So they find out that the main real boss is White Tiger, this guy, this business dude who's like running everything, right? So what was the point of him like just tearing down the store? Going back to that quickly before we get to the ending, like, why did he even do that, bro? Like, I'm like, yo, bro, come on, man. Like, that's just let
I
him know.
know. I know. I guess he wanted to prove that he's the big boss, right? And I think Kyung wanted to like bargain with him, like say, "Oh, I want to see my friends first, and where are my friends?" And he just said, just come down to the supermarket. And then afterwards, he told him, "That's my style," like nobody bargains with me. It's either my way or the highway. So I guess that's a big boss thing to do, to like show that you have the ability to do things like that. So
That's
I
true.
don't know. It probably wasn't necessary. You're right, but you wanted to prove a point where to tell Kyung, I am the big boss. This is who you're messing with. So when you meet up with my guys, be careful because this is what I'm capable of. So it's like a way of threatening him, to be careful when they meet up.
So Kyung shows up. He's on a wire. He's pretty much trying to get information. My first question was like, you couldn't be more subtle, bro. Like they knew what you
Oh,
were up
he
to,
was
man.
horrible. Oh
It's
my
so bad.
god. I would like to speak to your boss, White Tiger. Like, bro, like come I understand, we might be asking too much, Lewis, from Kyung. Like, he's a
That's
kung fu
true.
guy,
That's
and
true.
he's confident, but he may not be the best, spy, I guess. And we know he's not good at being discreet. So that's probably his weakness. But yeah, like come on, man. And like even when they were walking him to the boathouse, he's like walking around and saying, your boss is in a boathouse? Like, who says that? Like, I know some people think out loud, but for you to say things like that, and then like when he's being pushed in, they're like, it's in number, like it's just it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, hey man, he's not James Bond.
But may I say something though? Here's some random trivia that I also found, going piggybacking off of that. Did you know that in the English version, they took a part out at the beginning of the film, and in the Hong Kong version, they said that that his profession was a cop from Hong Kong when he came in and like he got introduced by the uncle. So what? How does that change your mind now?
Oh, if he's a cop, man, that's like a oof. That's a no no. That's a huge miss by him. If he was trained to be a cop, again, I don't know how cops are in Hong Kong, but I assume being somewhat of a discreet information taker type of guy is going to require some skills. But yeah, that does change it for me. If he was a
Exactly.
cop, then nah, he messed up there big time.
What did you think about the Lamborghini and the hovercraft stunt? What did you think about that? That was super dope, right?
That was dope, and that Lamborghini was hot. It was like golden color. Oof. And the way he like maneuvered the Lamborghini, like you could tell that car has so much horsepower. And like for him to like, I mean, it was just very convenient how he found like that. What is it? Like a thrift, not a thrift shop, like a was it a hardware store or something where he got the big, super big
The
sword?
sword, yeah, yeah. It was
Like,
like a random.
where would you find that thing? And also, I feel that I don't think his foot would be strong enough to like cut that hovercraft. Like, because there's a lot of force. You
Right.
have, it's mass times acceleration. Like, it's a big
Whoa.
hovercraft, and you're going fast. Like, you need a lot of strength on that foot, which his foot in real life was messed up, by the way.
Right, correct. Yeah, I did see that, and thank you to all the engineers right there. You're throwing a little mass.
It comes back every once in a while.
Look at you, some
I
brain.
probably haven't used this since city college days.
So then, okay, so then, so going on that, then, did you notice later they duct taped the hovercraft to go get White Tiger? Like,
Isn't that something, bro? Like, really, really, you're gonna duct tape the hovercraft, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna inflate with all that psi, more engineering, and and not pop. Like, come on,
so
man.
that
Like,
that's one of my big questions for you. Like, what's more exaggerated, the duct taping or destroying the hovercraft? Because I was like, bro,
nah. I mean, look, I could if I say the duct tape if I had to choose because the knife could be very very sharp. So like if you have something that's super sharp, it may take some of that force away. But there's absolutely no way duct tape would hold all that pressure from the hovercraft, and it's a massive massive vehicle.
yeah,
So
it's huge.
that was super exaggerative. I agree with you.
So in the end, him and Tony became boys real quick. What did you think about that? Like, how did you think that?
That was so sudden. I did not like that. I did not like that. It was too quick. I mean, again, I know you needed him in order to get to Angelo, and I know you had to have some sort of peace, and Kyung is a peaceful guy. So at the end of the day, he wanted to have peace. Like and and I understand that, but it was too soon. And for and not just that, not on Kyung's side, but on Tony's side, for Tony to accept him that quick, like bro, he just took your girl
Yeah,
and he just embarrassed you in front of all your boys. Like and you're gonna be all friends with him and nah. That's not a Bronx gang members leaders type of thing to do.
I think it goes back to what you were saying that he just wanted to have tea with him. He was like, "Yo, calm down, have tea. We cool, no beef."
Yeah, it would have bring everything full circle if at the end they had tea.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes. Like
That's
a
a big miss.
yeah, like a little like after credits like scene right before they show everything else.
Exactly. Yep.
What would you change about this movie? Scene, actors, anything at all, or
I loved every piece of it. Again, I would what we spoke about, make it more Bronx like. Like give me more of the Bronx, give me Yankee Stadium, give me the Bronx Zoo, give me like something more than just like something about New York. Like the only piece that we got from New York was JFK.
and Manhattan? I think that
Yeah, and
yeah,
Manhattan. Yeah, there was like a little scene of like Fifth Avenue, right?
right.
But like, man, like give me more of the Bronx, man. Otherwise, just name it Rumble in Vancouver, which is okay. But like, if you're gonna name it Rumble in the Bronx, there's Bronx locals that are gonna pinpoint all the all the
Historical, yeah.
non-Bronx things, right?
Yeah. That's true. I agree with you. I think that maybe if they would have done at least one scene, come on down to New York and just like maybe like one scene in Yankee Stadium or something random that
Yeah, something like, meet me at the Triborough Bridge, or something like something to make it more New York.
I agree with you, brother. I agree.
And I feel like in 2020 you would not be able to pull that off. Maybe back then, but 2020, everybody knows now what like New York looks like due to like social media, and like everybody would just point it out immediately. Like we pointed it out, since we are from New York, so we knew right off the bat that it seemed a little off. But like somebody from the Midwest probably wouldn't know in 1995 that that wasn't really the Bronx, right?
Right. You know what I miss? And I want to give a huge shout out to all the stunt coordinators and everybody and Jackie Chan. I really miss that they show all the stunts at the end.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think that's a Jackie Chan thing, right? Every Jackie film ends with like the stunts that he does at the end.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I'm telling you, I really truly miss that. I love
I
seeing
love
his
that.
movies because of that.
Yeah, and it's a testament of who he is. So huge shout out Jackie Chan. I feel like you, sir, are one of the greatest actors. To do it yourself. So like I applaud his work and I appreciate it. So, and speaking of stuntmen, like there was a lot of like a lot of these guys, like the actors, are like really stuntmen. Like Tony's a stuntman. He was a stuntman, and I think he passed away a few years later.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Tony, his real name is Mark Akerstream, and he passed away doing a stunt in a film in Canada.
Damn, man. R.I.P., man.
Elena passed away too.
I saw that in the research I did. She passed away like at 40 years old. Like, did you find out
Yeah,
why or?
cancer.
Oh, man. R.I.P.
Cervical cancer. So she died from cervical cancer, and Uncle Bill, obviously, well, not obviously, it's sad, but yeah, he passed away at this point. And Nancy's a singer
Oh,
in real life.
yeah?
She's a singer. It was funny. But yeah,
I was going to say, anything else you wanted to mention about the movie or like any highlights you want to talk about?
it's just like it just holds such a special part in my heart watching it in DR. Like I remember just watching it over and over and over, and like having friends over and having them watch it over. It was just it holds a special piece. That's why like I really wanted to talk about this movie. So thank you for giving me the platform to talk about this movie,
Of
as it means
course.
a lot to me.
So then the most important part, your Arturo Fuentes MVP. Who do you got, bro?
Yeah, I was gonna ask who's Arturo Fuentes.
I named it Arturo Fuentes MVP because as you know, I'm a huge cigar fan, and Arturo
Yes,
Fuentes is a brand from the Dominican Republic where they make their own cigars and everything, and it's a huge brand and well known. So I figured in homage to them, naming my MVP award that because as you know, I'm Dominican, 100%. So I want to give a shout out to my roots and something that I love to do. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it. It's a really expensive cigar. I think my brother is a cigar guy too, so he's gotten it. He's asked for this before.
Oh man, nah, that's what's up, man. That he knows like if you pick something from Arturo Fuentes, you know you're gonna get quality. Like it's
Right,
like always a safe bet. So that's why
right.
I said like shout out to Dominican Republic, shout out to Arturo. Like they make quality stuff.
Definitely, definitely. So like in terms of actor, or
Oh, actually, yeah, actor like character. What did you like the most?
I really liked Angelo, because Angelo.
Oh, okay, okay.
The obvious choice would be Kyung, but Angelo is your he brought comedy, a little bit of comedy, and like he was like your little jokester type of guy, where like without him I feel the film will be way too serious.
Yes,
Way too
agreed.
serious. So you need a sort of like a clown, right? So like you always need that clown, that class clown, to like help people propel through the movie. So he's my Arturo Fuentes MVP.
I love it, man. I love it. Mine's was not Kyung, obviously. That's too obvious of a choice.
Good.
It was actually Danny. I really enjoyed Danny, the kid.
Yeah, yeah.
He had a lot of comedic relief. He's the one who hooked up his sister with Keong. Like he was like a glue. Like you know what I mean? Like he's like the kind of guy that we brought him into the movie and he was the glue. He was centered around like the main plot where like they're trying to find the diamonds. Like he brought a lot of things together. So I really like Danny. I like the little character. I like the actor who played him. I thought that he was pretty good on screen. So I really enjoyed that part.
That's an excellent point, Lewis. Without Danny, there is no plot. He is the
Right.
one that connected Kyung to Nancy and the gang. So, like, without him, they probably wouldn't have been together. They probably wouldn't have known each other that to be close in any type of way. Probably wouldn't have access to the diamonds. Probably it's a lot changes. A lot changes.
Right.
So
Right.
good call on that.
Any last minute plugs you want to do? Anything you want to say before we head on out?
Well, another nugget is the guy at the remember when Kyung and Nancy took Danny to the ice cream shop.
Uh huh. Yes.
The ice cream guy. He's a famous. I think he's a singer or actor in. No, I think he's a singer in China.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't
he's
know
like
that.
a famous person over there. So to us, it was just like a regular guy. Um,
Exactly. You're like, all right, I don't know. I
yeah.
don't know.
But yeah, plug of course, Play the Tape podcast. Episodes going released every Friday. So follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Tumblr, on Facebook, on every darn platform out there. We just created it this week. So Play the
Awesome.
Tape pod. If you like sports, I think you'll enjoy it with this with a Dominican flair. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you for joining. This has been a View to Film. Thank you for listening.